Hey guys, and welcome back to the 7,000 gold before TBC drops challenge. Now, there is a lot for us to talk about in this episode, and the first one that I just want to get out of the way real quick is that I wanted to make a little apology for how long it's been since the last episode, and this is basically due to a whole host of reasons, but most of which is going to boil down to the fact that I had real life commitments. I had family members who have been in hospital recently and I've had to look after them, and I also had my mouse completely die on me, all of which has produced a combination of very little time and very little capacity to actually play the game, and as a result the videos haven't come out because I simply haven't played the game to do anything towards the challenge. With that out of the way, one thing that is going to be game related that I want to talk about is the disaster that we had during this time period since you last saw me. So with the limited game time I've had, I've pretty much been restricted to just playing the auction house and maybe doing some crafting and posting stuff, and that's about it. And one night I was talking to my girlfriend and I wasn't really paying attention while I was making purchases to do some crafting, and this happened. Now, that is tragic. For anyone who can't discern the picture well enough, what I've done is essentially spend nearly 900 gold on some blindweed because I wasn't paying attention, and someone has put up a whole host of items on the auction house on my realm at extortionate prices, hoping to catch someone out who's simply just not paying attention like I wasn't. Now, first things first, I don't blame this person. It's a very scummy thing to do, but the only person to blame is myself. If you are going to be doing the whole TSM semi-automated brain on slow crafting of gold, then you really need to pay attention, because if you do something like I did, there really isn't anywhere to point the finger except at yourself, and that is about that. Now, with that being said, it is a way of making gold that I do not really approve of. I think it's quite scummy. But it is what it is, and I am now 900 gold out of pocket essentially towards this challenge, which I'm just seeing as essentially doing hard mode of this challenge now. So that's how we're managing to keep a smile on our face, but yeah, pretty tragic. Now, the last thing to discuss is going to be the fact that we have made some relatively large investments since you last saw us as well. As well as the pretty standard stuff you'll all be used to now of me reinvesting in materials to do the crafting, we have also invested in the leveling of some new professions on an alt as well. Now, we have been invested in both blacksmithing and leatherworking on our shaman. Blacksmithing we haven't taken up that far and we haven't really invested too much, but the leatherworking we did invest enough to go all the way up to just over 200 skill levels so that we could craft some more items to be selling that you will see later on in the video. Now, this is essentially because we've had so much luck with regards to our tailoring and our alchemy crafts to make gold towards this challenge that we figured the more professions we had, the more things we could stock up on, the more we could diversify, and given the time constraints of the challenge, that's great because it means that while we have these slow trickle sellers, if we have more of them and have our fingers in more pies, as it were, we will get more of these sales and we should hopefully reach our goal quicker. That being said, we did have to invest quite a lot of money in order to be able to get these professions up, and that's something we'll take a look at towards the end of the video to see where we are and what we made and how we plan on making gold with those professions moving forward. Now, while I've been rambling about all of this that's gone on, what you've been watching on the screen is the 2 gold farms that I actually did manage to find a little tiny bit of time to be able to do, albeit pretty much just in the last couple of days now that things have actually eased up a little bit in the real world for me. Now, the 2 farms that we've been doing have been Razorfen Crawl, simply to restock on our small radiant shards that you've seen as gather in previous episodes, as well as also going to Maraudon. Now, in Maraudon, you've probably seen hundreds of variants of gold farms in here, but all we've actually been doing is a very simple little route that involves the going in using the item that you get from the quest and mining all of the nodes. The only thing that I'm actually killing on these runs, unless something goes wrong, is the goblin boss and vendoring the one blue item that I get from him, and that's just adding a little bit of extra value to each run. But the reason we're actually here is because on my realm at the minute, at the time of recording, we have a really high price on both solid stone and mithril ore. Now, this is probably due to the fact that people are getting ready for leveling their jewel crafting when it becomes available. But whatever reason, we are simply going to take advantage of this because of the fact that mithril ore is quite difficult to get out in the world because there's so many people farming it. So we thought we'd come here and give this a go, and on average we're actually getting about 5 nodes per run, which is truly fantastic. So with all that being said, how did we end up doing for the week? Well, why don't we hop over to our bank character and take a look. Okay, so like at the end of every episode, it's time to take a look at where we stand. And the first thing we're going to have to take a look at is this gold, which of course is a big drop from where we were previously. We've been over the error, it's happened, we're going to move on. But I would say that I'm actually quite happy with just under 2,000 gold considering the error. It does mean that with the very limited playtime that we've had, we've actually started to recover quite nicely from our mistake that we made. We have got quite a lot of items that I'll go through that haven't gone on the auction house currently that are in our bags because the prices are currently too low, but in truth, not as much as we sometimes do. And I feel as though we actually have quite a bit of things to sell at the minute as well, so it means that the prices are actually generally speaking quite good right now. So if we take a quick look at the auction house, and we'll have a look at what we've got. So we've actually got some sales here as well. So gold ore and some eternal essences. The gold ore we actually got from our Maradon farm that you saw me doing on my priest. And the eternal essences were from a random BOE green that we disenchanted. What else have we got on here? So got a lot, like usual, of our crafted tailoring items that are selling really well, especially the shadow weaves recently. Obviously a lot of people are leveling warlocks right now because of how strong they are in TBC. We have some silver rods, not really anything to write home about, but we did get them in the process of leveling our professions on our shaman, which we'll have a look at in a quick second. We also have a couple of new items in the form of crafted leatherworking items. Again, the shaman, that's what we leveled up. We leveled up both blacksmithing and leatherworking to a certain degree. That is a work in progress, as is the shaman itself. Going down, you'll see we've got plenty of the classics, all of our alchemy crafts, as well as many more tailoring crafts. You may have also noticed as well the ludicrous amount of mithril ore that we've picked up along the Maradon farm. But I think that's pretty much going to cover everything that we've got on here. We do have the mithril shield spike. That was one that we got in a treasure chest in Razorfen Crawl when we went for these small radiant shards. And the elixir of shadow power. So this is one I really should have been crafting all along. The profit margin on my realm is actually huge. You can see at the minute there on that tooltip that the profit is roughly 2 gold 27 per elixir that I craft. So we've made 20 of these and added them to our alchemy restocking list. And we'll see how we do with that one as well. But that's going to about show us what we've had on there. Take a quick look now at where our sales have been over the last sort of 2 weeks since you last saw. Now, admittedly, we haven't really played in the last 2 weeks for all of the reasons that I've already mentioned in the video. But we have made 749 gold in sales at least. Don't think there's going to be anything particular of note in here beyond what you would expect. A lot of the mithril ores and the alchemy crafts. We did have a spider belt sell, which is a very high profit margin but slow shifting item that you can craft with tailoring. We sold another elixir of the sages, so that would suggest it's more time to go up and do some TS hand farming again. Dreamweave, that's some true silver bars. Plenty of our elixirs and lips and things of that nature that people need for raiding and or gold farming. But beyond that, it's been an awful lot of really crappy value items that we've simply just shifted that we've had in reserve. Formula for Enchant Shield Superior Spirit, sold a couple of days ago. Yeah, I don't actually remember where I got that one in all honesty. I might have to look back and find out, or maybe if you guys remember, let me know down below. because I think that's something we may want to try and restock, because that is a good value to be getting for a single sale. We've got some shadow oils that we farmed for ourselves in Scarlet Monastery, but for the most part nothing particularly shocking, the same stuff that you'll be used to seeing on here if you've been watching the videos previously. Now the last thing to talk about before we close out the episode is the investments that we were discussing. So the big thing that we did was we leveled up leatherworking and blacksmithing on our shaman. Now our shaman's only level 25, so we can't get all the way up to 300, we can only go up to 225. But in truth, the blacksmithing is something that's probably not going to make us an awful lot of money, at least not until level 60, so we've pretty much just stopped there and we'll level it as and when we get items that will help us with the leveling of it, but we're not going to go out of our way to do it. We did, however, power level our leatherworking so that we could craft some of the Nightscape armor pieces, which are going to be selling quite nicely for an extended period of time because of the fact that everyone that's leveling alts right now, if you're leveling something that wears agility leather, those pieces are about as good as it gets, and they're relatively cheap to craft, so I thought I'd add them in and see if we could get some decent sales with them. We've had some luck so far, but they aren't particularly fast shifting, so we'll be keeping an eye on that one. But for now guys, that's going to about wrap up the wrap up at the end of the episode. I do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider liking and subscribing to the channel so you can be here for when the next episode drops. But for now guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Later.